What is going on, guys? Welcome to a new video. So today then we're going to be talking about when you can expect to see your first sale. It's been a question I've been getting asked quite a lot recently, so I thought I'd better do a video on the topic. So I've got some points in that I want to go through on my phone just to make sure I don't leave anything out. But before I do that, then we're just going to jump into my ad manager account quickly, just so I can show you then what those first few weeks look like for me when I started dropshipping myself a little bit over 2 years ago now. So that being said then, guys, thank you for tuning in. That's the topic. I hope you guys enjoy the video and let's get straight into it. What is going on there, guys? So welcome to my ad manager account. Now I know it looks weird with where I've put myself on the screen, but I'm still pretty rubbish when it comes to video editing, and I'm still not sure how to block out certain sections of the screen, so I just thought I'd put myself there. But if you guys, in fact, if you know of any better video editing software, at the moment I'm just using iMovie, so if you know of one that you can do that with, then make sure you let me know in the comment section below. So anyway, as you can see then, we're in my ad manager account. And this was actually my very first day of advertising, and if we just look at the numbers, you can see I actually made a sale on my very first day. And just to prove it to you guys then, in fact, I'll just refresh the page as well so you guys can see that it is legit. I'm not trying to mislead anyone here. And once this loads up, you can see numbers are still the same, dates the same. So June 30th, 2016. So I actually started dropshipping and advertising in Facebook over 2 years ago now. And if I just choose all the time before, then you can see that my spend is zero. So on my actual very first day, I was actually fortunate enough to make a sale. There's some points, like I've mentioned in the intro, that I'm going to go through on my phone. And one of those points, just quickly, is the fact that if you've got a good product and you put them in front of the right audience, it doesn't matter how matured your pixel is. It doesn't matter how expensive your product is. At the end of the day, the key is putting the right product in front of the right audience. Whether somebody sees it just because you've chosen, say, a PPE ad, or whether you've chosen, say, add to cart as your optimized conversion event, it doesn't matter. If somebody wants to buy your product, they'll buy your product. So June 30th then, I made my first sale on my very first day. And then if we just have a look at kind of like the next couple of days, I haven't actually looked at this detail, these numbers myself in a long time. And as you can see, I'd spent £30, only returned £23, so I wasn't making money. And if we just have a look at the rest of July, spent 400 pretty much, and only saw 455 back, so I was still losing money. And then if we look into August as well, I spent 530 and then made 1300 back. So that was actually my first profitable month. And I do document all of this. I do actually go into a lot more detail than I'm going to show you in this video. If you look back at the very first two videos I uploaded on my YouTube channel, I'll go through the whole profit and loss and everything. Because back then I was keeping track of all my financials using an Excel spreadsheet as well. So I'll show you guys all of that. If you want to see that, make sure you go check the videos out. It's literally like the very first two videos I uploaded on my channel. So as you can see then, they're the kind of results that I was able to do in my first couple of months. I was speaking to a subscriber quite recently who was asking, he sent me loads and loads of different questions actually. Number one was like, can you still make money in 2019 doing dropshipping? Which the clear answer is 100% yes, you can. And then he was asking along the lines of like, how quickly can he expect to make money, which gave me the idea for this video. So what I'm going to do now then is just bring my phone back into the video and just go through these points then, just one by one with you guys, to hopefully help you out and hopefully kind of motivate you to stick with what you're doing. So point number one then, guys, what I'm going to do is kind of like go through the important points that I want you guys to know and actually consider. And then towards the end of the video, I'm going to go into kind of more specifics and the numbers of everything. So the number one point I want to make then is that Facebook ads now are so much more expensive than they were when I started over 2 years ago. Again, I've documented it in previous videos. I used to sell a product. I've got it somewhere around here. So this was actually the very first product I started selling, and I was selling them at £5 a piece, and still being able to get purchases low enough to make a profit on that. And even if I tried to do that today, I still don't think I would be able to accomplish purchases that cheaply, just because Facebook has become so much more competitive, and at the end of the day, more expensive. Facebook is a bidding platform. You kind of have to compare it to eBay in many ways, that the more that somebody wants to advertise to the same audience as you, or the more somebody wants to buy the same products you do on eBay, then the more expensive you're going to have to pay for it. So when it's kind of like a side note here, when people talk about certain niches being saturated, then I don't believe any niche is saturated in the way that people think it is. So there can never be enough people or too many people then selling within one space, just because the world is such a huge place, and the worldwide market, especially with dropshipping, you can sell to pretty much anyone in the world, and there's just always going to be enough people. But an audience then can be too competitive, and they're two different things. Competitive and saturation is two completely different things, especially on Facebook, because like I said, the more people that want to target the same audience that you do, the higher your CPM is going to be, and the more difficult you're going to find it to sell those cheaper products especially. So first point then is Facebook ads are a lot more expensive, so that's definitely something you have to consider when trying to get away with selling products like this. Anything under £10, then I think you're going to struggle to be profitable. Number two then is upfront investment. As you saw there, I was able to make a sale on my very first day. Now, I'm not saying that's not possible with Facebook today. It 100% is, but what I'm saying is it's going to be more difficult, because back then things were less competitive, and because they were less competitive, then there was less kind of money required up front to mature your pixel. Whereas nowadays, Facebook requires a bit more investment up front and testing wise for Facebook to mature and find who your ideal customer is, where it wasn't so much back then. So that's why it was easier, in my opinion, back then. And now it just requires a bit more money to mature your pixel and ideally kind of focus down on the right audience. And that's why then when I speak about it in my videos, anybody with a small budget of say anything of less than $300, and I recommend starting with Instagram influencers. Make sure you always have your Facebook pixel installed as well, because then people coming onto your store will be logged at the same time. And plus you can bring immediate people with Instagram influencers. You just get like a hit and wave of people, whereas with Facebook you kind of have to build it up at the beginning, because you've got no past data. Then you can spend a lot of money, waste a lot of money if you're not tagged in the right audience, or showing your ad to people that aren't just going to be interested in your product. Number three then is budget dependable. So depending on how quickly you can expect to see your first sale, it's going to depend on how much money you want to put into Facebook ads right at the very beginning. And anybody who's spoken to me then on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, then you'll know that when people ask me a lot of general questions, and they usually say kind of like any tips for starting on Facebook, and I could probably write a book about tips on Facebook, but like the main tip I give beginners is just to start slow, because Facebook can just be an endless money pit. And I see it time and time again, people spending say $5-10, maybe even like $50, which is fine, testing the product and seeing no results. And then because they've spent that much and they've got maybe nearer to a result, like they've had a pretty good cost per click, or they've had a couple of add to carts, and they've decided just to say chuck $200 in, and before they know it, they've spent say $300, $400, even $500 on a product, testing the product to know pretty much the same thing that they knew after spending $50. So start slow, start on £5 per day. You saw again back then my ad manager account in month one, it was actually at the end of June, only one day, so I only spent about £5. And then in month two, I only spent, say, I think it was like £200-300. It weren't a lot more. So I started really, really slowly. And make sure that when you're spending money on Facebook, you're learning. Facebook is giving you something back in return. So they're kind of like the main points then I want you guys to consider when you start running ads. And kind of like to summarize the whole thing, or getting kind of more specific even into the numbers. In fact, we'll get into the numbers in a second. Another kind of general point goes back to what I mentioned earlier in the video, which is if you show your product to the right audience and it's the right product also, then you're going to make a sale. So whether you choose a PPE campaign, a traffic campaign, or a WC campaign, and you optimize for view contents or initiate checkouts or add to carts, regardless of what your objective of that campaign is, if you choose the right product and show it to the right audience, somebody is going to buy it. So just keep that in mind when you're running your ads. I've mentioned, so start slow, we've mentioned that. So going into specifics then, it's really difficult to give you guys specific guidelines because everybody's selling different products to different audiences. But I find these ones kind of will apply to most people. And if you're not sure on any of this at all, by the way, feel free to leave a comment down below. So most people, I imagine, watching this video then will be selling products up to about $50. So what I would recommend then is, if you are selling a product up to $50, when you get to the point of spending $50 on one particular ad set and you haven't seen a single sale, then I would recommend switching the ad set off and just going through the numbers and seeing what's happening. Now, never ever ever delete an ad set, just switch it off. And then when you run your next ad set and say spend $50 as well, if you've got 0 sales on both of them, then look at the numbers and see which one performed best. And then you know which ad set to go more kind of along the lines of. So if you have 2 separate ad sets, both spent $50, this one got 0 sales and this one got 0 sales, but then the click-through rate and the cost per click were cheaper, and your relevance score and your CPM was cheaper, your relevance score was higher, then you know that you want to go more kind of along the lines of this ad set, if that makes sense. So never delete an ad set, so you can always compare them against each other. And if you're selling the product up to $50 and you get to the point where you've spent $50 on that one particular ad set and not made any sales, then switch it off. And the final point then that I want to go through with you guys is that once you've ran then say 2 or 3 ad sets and you spent the equal amount of budget on each, now it's important that you spend the equal amount on budget on each, and therefore you're going to have, it's going to be equal. Each ad set is going to have its fair chance. For example, if you spend $10 on one ad set and $100 on another ad set, that's not fair. It's not the same amount of data. It's not going to be even. You're not going to have the mean amount of data to compare. So once you've got say 2 or 3 ad sets, if all 3 haven't performed well and brought in 0 amount of sales, then look at the numbers, and there's kind of some key numbers that you want to compare against your 3, and these are your relevance scores, your cost per click, your CPM, and your add to cart. Look at those 4 specific numbers, export your numbers into an Excel spreadsheet so you've got all 4 ad sets kind of listed one on top of each other. And then you can look at which one performed the best. You can look at the ad copy you used, and then you can go deeper within the ad set as well. So go through the breakdowns, look at the age ranges that performed the highest, and again, compare those against. And then you can kind of build up a bigger picture of who that kind of specific and focused audience is that's gonna buy your product or is most interested in your product, to show your ad to more people like that. And then that puts you on the right track then to being successful, finding that right audience and making those sales. Ultimately, it kind of goes back to that point of Facebook requiring that upfront investment, in which you need to spend that kind of say maybe $150 testing some different audiences so you can compare them against each other and find kind of like the needle in the haystack, if you like. So that being said then guys, that's all the points on my phone that I've gone through. Hopefully I've given you guys some kind of like some better guidelines to work against, and hopefully the idea of this video then is I don't want you guys to get disheartened when you haven't made sales in your first day or even your first week. Facebook is definitely a marathon, not a sprint. Just take your time, start slowly. Every time you spend money, make sure you're looking at the numbers. Like I said, make sure you compare them, have something to compare them against as well. If you only have one ad set, then how the hell are you going to know if that's performed well or not? You need something to compare it against. So you need to compare at least 3 different audiences. And once you do that, then the whole process just becomes easier. So that being said, thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, all I ask is please do leave a like, and leave a comment down below as well. Let me know what you thought of this video, and I'll see you all guys in the next one.